Then Jesus is going to call, in Mark's account, these first 4 disciples. Let's read Mark chapter 1 and verse 16. As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew his brother casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They immediately left their nets and followed him. Then when he had gone a little farther from there, he saw James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, who were also in the boat mending their nets. And immediately he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired servants and went after him. Here you see a picture of the northeast shore of the Sea of Galilee, a place that you can imagine the call of these 4 fishermen actually occurring. Jesus perhaps walking along the shore there. In this particular picture, you can see some small boats in the distance. You might not be able to make them out in that picture. But this is the very near the place probably where this may have happened. He calls the 4 of them just walking by the sea, seeing, first of all, Simon and Andrew. They're casting their nets into the sea. He says, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." They immediately did that. Again, to reiterate, they knew Jesus already. They knew who he was. They'd seen him do miracles already, apparently from what the Gospel of John has to say. I invite you to turn over there just for a moment. For the most part, we'll be looking only at the text of Mark in our study, but I do want to add this in from the Gospel of John, chapter 1 and verse 35. John, as I mentioned in his Gospel, really sets it off by introducing us to the testimony of John the Baptist about Jesus. So he tells us in verse 35 of John 1, "The next day John stood with 2 of his disciples, and looking at Jesus as he walked, said, 'Behold the Lamb of God.' And 2 disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. Jesus turned, seeing them following him, said to them, 'What do you seek?' And they said to him, 'Rabbi,' which is to say, when translated, 'Teacher,' 'where are you staying?' He said to them, 'Come and see.' And they came and saw where he was staying and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour. One of the 2 of them who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, 'We have found the Messiah,' which is translated the Christ. When he brought him to Jesus, Jesus looked at him and said, 'You are Simon the son of Jonah. You will be called Cephas,' which is translated a stone, or Peter in the language of the New Testament. So here you see Andrew and Peter, and probably the other disciple was John the Apostle, being first introduced to Jesus. So this was very early on, right after Jesus' baptism, while John's ministry was still going on. Notice where we are in Mark, John then has been arrested. John's in prison. And so this event that we're looking at in John chapter 1 happens a good bit earlier than the events of Mark chapter 1. And we can also see John being put into prison. That doesn't happen for some good time in the Gospel of John. After the wedding feast at the Cana of Galilee, after the disciples seeing a number of miracles that Jesus did. So these men getting introduced to Christ by John the Baptist, first of all, and it was sometime later that you have these events then in Mark chapter 1. This is not their first contact with him. But nonetheless, it is so impressive that he calls them to be fishers of men. You've been catching fish. I need you to catch men for me. I'm going to make you fishers of men. And immediately they leave it all, follow him to go do that. What obedience, what faith, what trust they had already in the Christ. A little farther on, back in our reading in Mark chapter 1, Jesus saw James and John in a boat, and they are mending their nets, and he calls them with virtually the same call. And it says that immediately they left the boat and their father and their servants, and they followed Jesus. So they left everything as well, just because the master calls to leave everything behind and go to do his work. These men were men of great devotion and great faith, kind of faith we need today, sometimes to leave the things of the world and focus on the things of God when he calls us through his word to do so. It's very impressive, these men that Jesus is calling. And then let's pick up the reading in Mark chapter 1 and verse 21. Before we get to that, I'll just throw a couple of pictures up here of these fishing nets, the casting net that probably Peter and Andrew were using, the drag net that may have been used by James and John, which they were cleaning on the shore. These are common implements of fishing all over the world, really, but certainly there on the Sea of Galilee. But here we go.